on?
Yes, she should be on, sir.
Okay, I'm just trying to see if we have everybody on to be in. Let's see, Phipps. Chief Sadler said he was going to be a little late.
Correct, sir.
And then will Morgan be participating, or?
She's assisting Laurie.
Okay. We got Ron, we got Kelly, we got Susan.
We've got Kelly, Susan, let's see. So we have Mr. Sanders. Is Mr. Willman on, or Dr. Willman on? Oh, there he is. Mr. Larson. I see him anywhere? I don't see Mr. Larson anywhere. Susan's on. Dave Garden is on, correct? And I see Dave. Yep, Dave's there. Kelly's on. And Ron should be someplace. He's here in our building.
Okay, do we want to wait a minute for Ron, or do you think we should start?
You know what? No, he's on. He's on, Ryan.
Oh, I see him down there. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Ryan Mortland. I'm Alderman of Ward 3 for Town and Country, and I've been appointed to help chair the Police, Fire, and EMS, and I'm honored to do so. Look forward to getting into some things this year and getting to know each of the commissioners, and just also help the key areas to keep our city safe. So as we begin, I'm looking at Chief. I'm looking at your Zoom link, and I thought we had a separate agenda email, right? So you're on mute, Chief.
Yes, sir. There's an email that says corrected agenda and meeting minutes.
Got it.
There was an incorrect date.
No worries. All right, I was looking at the other one. So I just, as we start this, obviously due to the health crisis, we're doing this virtually, and we're also we're live streaming on YouTube. So just for our citizens, and this was posted on Monday for this meeting. So if we can, Chief, if you just want to call roll real quick so we can do a process there, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Commissioner Sanders.
If you raise your hand, we'll say aye, and if not, you got to unmute yourself if you don't mind.
I see Commissioner Sanders. Commissioner Willman. Yep, I see Commissioner Willman. Commissioner Larson.
I don't think he's joining us. Yeah.
I don't see Don. Commissioner Crandall.
Here.
Commissioner Garden.
Here.
Commissioner Caracas.
Caracas here.
Commissioner Jotties. He's here. He's in our building.
He's raising his hand.
There he is.
Yep.
And then Commissioner Conrad.
He's raising his hand. He's here too. So then we have Dave Phipps, Chief Cavins, Ryan Mortland, and then Jeff Stadler will be coming later. So the email went out, and we went over. Obviously, I wasn't that part of that commission. So with regards to the minutes from July 21st, 2020, have they been reviewed? Is there any questions, or is there a motion? This is, and I know commissioners, this is the new way we're all doing it. If you would unmute and just say there's questions or anything from that standpoint.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 21st.
Thank you, Susan. And then I have a second from Don Sanders. And then any discussion? I know it's been a while, and I know we went over it. So all those in favor, if you just raise your hand, aye, so all those in favor, all right, minutes are passed and are moving in. So a couple items from the chair. Obviously, I'm taking over. I'm meeting with, I've talked with Chief Cavens. I'm meeting with Chief Cavens. I'm going to be meeting with Dave Phipps, and then I'm going to be meeting with, the Fire Chief, Dave Phipps, and then also Fire Chief Sadler. Sorry, I'm getting a couple of the names mixed up, but I'm kind of from the alderman side, just so everybody is aware, I've been an alderman for a year. I'm coming over from the Public Works Commission, and I very much enjoyed that appointment and working with that commission, and I look forward to working with all of you. The exciting thing is you get to learn a lot, but the significance of how important this commission is for our city around public safety and just overall taking care of our citizens. So all of the commissions have been reappointed new chairs, and we are still operating in a Zoom environment for all meetings across the board with regards to the Board of Aldermen. We're having a Board of Aldermen retreat this weekend, and we're watching the budget very closely as we provide services to our citizens. So I'm going to move and put the fire chief report after Chief Cavens, if you're okay, since when Chief Sadler joins us. So not only getting this meeting planned, we'll talk about at the end and other of future scheduling meetings and how we want to move forward. But we have something that's timely that Chief Cavens would like to get our opinion on, and as a commission, I wanted us to weigh in before. It's already gone to the Board of Aldermen from a discussion. I wanted the commission to weigh in on it, and we're going to take it back to the Board of Aldermen for a second reading next Monday. So, Chief, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Alderman Mortland. I appreciate it. So this MOU that you've all had the opportunity to read, this come on the heels of a mutual aid agreement that was placed into effect by the St. Louis Area Police Chiefs Association at the onset of COVID-19. That particular mutual aid agreement signed by all the members of SLAPCO was specifically for staffing should COVID-19, if personnel would test positive for COVID-19 at the onset, we were going to have to quarantine possibly a whole patrol crew because they were exposed, and the instructions during the initial phases or stages of COVID-19 was for 14 days. During those discussions that I was a part of, Chief Lewis and Chief Lewis of Ellisville PD and Chief Schaeffler of Baldwin PD then introduced to myself, Manchester, and Chesterfield this offshoot of an MOU, which they entitled the Lafayette Area Police Agency MOU. Now, the purpose of this MOU, one, is just for those agencies, Town and Country, Baldwin, Ellisville, Chesterfield, and Manchester. And the objective of this is that all of us, except for Chesterfield, are smaller agencies. We don't have a lot of resources like a Chesterfield or St. Louis County has. And so the purpose of this was to memorialize or formalize the communication, an agreement between all of us that should Ellisville, Town and Country, or any of us experience a situation where it doesn't meet the level of a St. Louis County assistance or a major K-Squad assistance, that we agree that we would provide resources or staffing not for like daily needs, staffing at a particular event so that public safety throughout could be enhanced. The other aspect of this MOU was that, if all of you remember, as soon as I arrived last year, all of you were experiencing car thefts. We were experiencing burglary to motor vehicles. throughout the entire West County area. This provides us the opportunity that myself or one of the other chiefs or one of the other commanders can say, hey, listen, on a Friday or a Thursday or a Tuesday night, we'd like to pool our patrol resources and have a small task force of patrol officers go around and hotspot all of our towns at once in a mass quantity of 4 or 5 patrol officers and really hit the areas to try to identify the criminal element. The third aspect of this is that it minimizes delay. Now a sergeant at Ellisville can contact a sergeant in Town and Country and go, hey, we've just had 3 business burglaries. We need help interviewing witnesses. We need help processing the crime scene. And there's no delay that they've got to call their chain of command. The chief's got to call me. I've got to call people, that there's more of a quicker response to the needs of all of us. So that's what the purpose of this is. It also promotes a great public perception for all of us, that it shows all of our citizens that it's just not Town and Country, that we are working with our neighbors in helping to improve public safety and prevent crime.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Thank you. So this memorandum of understanding with regards to the chiefs was distributed. We wanted to bring it to the police, fire, and EMS and discuss it and just kind of get everybody's from this commission their take on it and questions answered and anything else. So the floor is open for questions or discussion. Susan, go ahead.
So if, let's just say Baldwin says that they need help, we have 2 officers or 3 officers on. Do you call in additional officers to go help Baldwin, or do the 2 that are on duty go to help them?
No, the understanding between, and that's a great question, Susan. We all understand that our cities come first. And so if we don't have the staffing levels to participate that particular night or during the day, or if we just don't have the staffing to help out at the particular event, we all know that that can occur. We'll never take our staffing, or we will never leave our city with inappropriate staffing levels.
So we would have to take additional, then I guess we'd have to have additional officers respond to them beyond this.
Correct.
So I guess my question comes from, and then how will you predict what your payroll would need to be, since we don't know how much help they would need?
Well, we're going to minimize overtime. We know, say this weekend, Baldwin wants to put together a patrol task force to address certain criminal elements or a saturation patrol. If we don't have the manpower, I'm not bringing in overtime for it. It's an understanding between the chiefs that we all have budget constraints. We all have city officials to answer to when it comes to budgets. And there's going to be time that there's going to be times we can't send people for that reason. So we wouldn't do that. We'll only send people when we have the appropriate staffing.
And then if I read it correctly, then if we send the people and then our city needs something due to a big accident or something, then our people get to come back.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Our city will always be priority.
All right.
So, and just for clarity purposes, we will not be adding staff with this MOU.
Correct. We will not be bringing in staff on overtime unnecessarily. If we can plan it out to prevent overtime, that's what we're going to do. Now, if it's an emergency type situation, to expound on Susan's question, if it's an emergency situation to where Baldwin or Ellisville's calling us going, we just had 4 business burglaries and we need a detective right away to help us, that's a total different story, Susan.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Ron Judis? Can you unmute Ron, or Lori, can you unmute Ron?
And may I interrupt, Chairman? Lori, can you let Chief Sattler in? He's waiting to get in.
Okay.
Okay,
There we go, Ron.
yes. I was wondering about the resources do all the departments have the same amount of equipment? Say Baldwin or Ellisville needed some special equipment that Town and Country had. Do we share that with them?
That's a great question, Ron, and yes, we do. All the chiefs have provided a list of resources to the group, not the general resources. We all know we have police cars. We all know we have officers. So like Town and Country, we have our Public Works Department has a UTV or a similar type vehicle that some of the cities don't have. So I put that on the list so that if they would need that for a crime scene, that would be an option for them. So that's a great question. And yes, we've put the extraordinary list of resources together.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome.
Jim Conrad,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, my question is, where do the outside agencies, if they come in Town and Country, get the authority to operate in Town and Country under your city ordinances or state statutes? I know state statutes, they'd be okay, but how about the city ordinances?
If we're working in a task force, Jim, it's the understanding between all the chiefs that there will always be pairs, and Town and Country, when it would have to come to an arrest situation, Town and Country would take the lead on those situations.
Okay, so if it's outside agency making the stop, then they would become the witness and you would write
Correct.
the summons or the ticket,
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Yep, very
My
good
other
question.
question is radio communications. You got called into Chesterfield. Can you switch to their frequency or how does that work?
No, there'll be designated frequencies, just like when a code 1000 activation is done. There's certain encrypted channels and there's certain channels that are available to us through St. Louis County that we can use on our portables and our mobiles. We just have to notify them in advance that we're going to use them.
Okay, who would be doing the dispatching then?
The host agency, whoever the host agency is. So like for us, if Captain Defoe, who I'm sorry, I didn't introduce him to everybody, he's on here as well. If Captain Defoe activates or requests assistance and we do a little task force type thing, he would coordinate everything through WCDC.
Thank you.
Good question.
Great question.
David.
Yeah, I got a question. When you get called out for, everything varies depending on what's going on. But if you got called to officer, if I was the officer, would I know roughly how long I'll be gone? Will this be like?
Yes. Yes. If it's a planned event, Mr. Gordon, if it's a planned event, there's certain structures that we're going to be following that it's just not random. The chief or whoever his commanding officer is, they have to have objectives. They have to have basically a reason, and there's got to be dates and time frames so that everybody can plan ahead.
And then also,
if it's an emergency situation, obviously that's out the window. But the plan resources or the plan uses of this MOU, there's guidelines that we want a date and a time frame that they'll be used.
and then I'll know that if I go like a traffic stop, if I do that over there, I know I'll be gone to get there, and then the half hour to make the ticket out, and then I'll come back. So that's an example of whatever I'm going to Ellisville for. I know I'll be there for a few hours or so. That's what I'm.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then if there's a grid of Chesterfield, let's see, or Baldwin, which backs up to us, if the officer heads over there, he wants to know response time to get back into Town and Country if something were to go down. Is that correct? Does that work that way?
I don't really understand the question.
If I leave back, if I go from Town and Country and I'm a police officer for Town and Country and I go to Baldwin and something
Yes.
happens in Town and Country and somebody calls me for help, is there a certain distance I can go into Baldwin before I can't go any farther, or is that really not a problem?
I think I understand your question, that if we send an officer to Baldwin for a task force and then we need him back,
Right.
is that what you're asking? Yes, he'll
Yes.
come back immediately.
Okay. Okay. So it's sort of like the police department, they can only get a certain distance away from their area of operation. So what, to get back to, in case there's a fire at a house. So with a police officer, can he only go so far before he, you know what I mean? For the response to get back to town and country. Does that make sense?
No, we would take all of that into consideration because we're gonna have officers back in town and country. We're never gonna leave us short-handed to participate in any
Okay.
type of activity someplace else. So there'll always be people here, or always be officers here. As soon as that emergency call comes out, that shift supervisor is gonna direct him to come back. So he'll be back in a timely manner.
And then if the police officer was to get hurt when he's over in Baldwin, let's say he's all insured and everything like that.
Yeah. That's what this MOU is stating, is that we would
Okay.
hold harmless Baldwin because we're agreeing that, you know what, we may need their help someday. So Baldwin agrees that if they send us help, it'll all be under their workman's comp, all their insurance. And likewise, we agree to that too. That
Thank you.
that one day we may need their help as well.
Thank you.
Yep, good question.
Real quick before we start, if Morgan or Lori here, we're still trying to get Chief Sadler in. So if somebody he's in the waiting room. So, okay, I saw a couple up top. Fire Marshal Phipps, did you have a question? You need to unmute. Oh, there he is. Chief Sadler's in. All right, perfect. All right. Fire Marshal Phipps, you're still on mute.
No question.
Okay, sorry. Oh, it was Kelly. Sorry, Kelly. No? Who raised their hand? Jim? All right, we'll go back to Jim
Yeah.
Conrad. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, my question is, I understand that you're gonna be loaning out maybe vehicles. Let's say, I think of a scenario, Baldwin has a major accident and some out of control vehicle comes along and takes out 4 of their cars. Will you then loan them? You won't? Okay.
No, sir. This is not loaning of any of our equipment, so they can use anything that we take someplace. We are going to be with it. We are going to be operating.
Yeah. You'll be under control of it.
Yes.
Susan?
Ellisville seems to be pretty far compared to some of these others. I'm just curious, how did we not get De Pere or Frontenac or Creve Coeur involved?
Great question. Commissioner Sanders called me about that today. And I will tell you this, Susan, we're already covered with Creve Coeur and Frontenac because of our WCDC relationship or our pact with our mutual dispatch center. As far as De Pere, I can tell you that from what I've been told, being new to this area, the Lafayette area, from what I understand from Chief Lewis, Chief Schaeffler, and Mr. Shelton, the Lafayette area is a census block or a township that includes those municipalities would be west of 270, south of 64, and north of Manchester. We were an invitee, and I'm going to jump on the opportunity, but that's what, from what I understand, the Lafayette area is, Susan. That's the best explanation I have. But we're already covered with Creve Coeur and Frontenac.
You're on mute, Susan. You're on mute.
So we don't have to go through that process you were talking about, call the chief, this, call that chief. The 2 captains could call each other.
Correct. And we do that pretty much on a daily basis with
Okay.
Frontenac and Creve Coeur.
Thank you.
Great question.
Any other questions or any other comments? Don Sanders.
One of the comments, everybody on here is looking at what we're going to do for everybody else, but please keep into consideration what everybody else is going to help us do. It's a two-way street.
That's correct, Don. Thanks.
Good point. Any other comments or questions? Jim, Commissioner Conrad.
Yeah, how about the insurance carriers? Are they all signed off on this? Is that
Slate has reviewed this, Jim. Mr. Shelton took this to the Slate board. Our Slate committee.
Okay. If there's not any other comments or questions, is there a motion on the table to move forward?
I motion it.
All right, Commissioner Gordon, seconded by Commissioner Conrad. So all those in favor, either say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 It has everyone saying aye, and there's no nays. So thank you, Chief, for your leadership in this and working with the rest of the agencies around us and being a good neighbor.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Most definitely. We're getting a little interference. Not sure. Okay, so our second agenda item is with regards to, let's see, is with regards to the purchase approval of the camera system. So Chief, actually, I don't know if Morgan can hear it. Got everybody on mute. Don and Commissioner Sanders, Commissioner Williams, can you guys go on mute for a second? See if that's, there we go. All right. So the second agenda item with regards is a memorandum official request from the Board of Aldermen for approval for expenditure for $118,000 over a 2-year lease purchase program, $84,250 in fiscal year 2020 and $34,000 in fiscal year 2021 for a turnkey mobile for purchase and installation training for the Panasonic in-car camera system for patrol vehicles and body-worn camera data storage. We had this amount budgeted for the in-car cameras alone. And I'm assuming, Chief, you're saying we didn't have it for the body-worn camera data storage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the proposal includes the integration of the in-car systems to function in concert with our Panasonic body-worn camera systems recently acquired through a multi-agency grant project and upgraded server for storage. So the memorandum is for the Board of Aldermen to authorize the lease purchase with turnkey. Turnkey has provided the same or similar equipment and services to Maplewood PD, Clayton PD, Brentwood PD, and Bellefontaine PD. Any other things that you want to, if you want to go into your narrative here, Chief Cavins, and kind of give it a little of your personal touch there, that'd be appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Mortland. So for those commissioners that were on the commission pre-me, if you remember when I was hired and appointed, the body-worn camera grant through Regis had become a nightmare for all of you. You had been dealing with this since 2017. Regis had really made no movement on it, and I had promised all of you that would be a priority for me because I believed in the body-worn cameras. As probably Captain Defoe will support me on this, we assigned Lieutenant Wilkie and Sergeant McNutt to this task to hold Regis's feet to the fire. They did that. Upon doing that, it pushed them to get answers to all of us participating agencies. And if you recall, just before the end of the year, I reported to you that we would be receiving the body-worn cameras, I think sometime towards the end of the year, first of the year. But then Regis surprised us with an $18,000 unexpected storage cost that they could not provide any data-driven information of why this unexpected cost was going to be deferred to all the participating agencies. Right at the beginning of the year, once we got that information, Sergeant McNutt and Lieutenant Wilkie aggressively started researching because in the FY20 budget, we had been approved an $84,000 expenditure to replace all of our aging in-car camera systems. They got with Turnkey, who was the provider for the body worn cameras. We got the bids. They were on the state bid for the in-car cameras. They're going to integrate them. We got quotes from them for a server so that we wouldn't have to go through Regis. We could house both the in-car camera system, the body worn camera system, in our own server here at Town and Country Police Department. They were going to provide all the training, so forth and so on. About the time they gave us all the options of purchases and lease, COVID-19 hit. So then we were concerned, as Chairman Martland has indicated, really watching budget expenditures. We've waited. We've done our due diligence of postponing this priority situation that all of you commissioners have been waiting for. And especially now, we cannot wait anymore to get this program implemented because of the climate. I'm not going to be that police chief, everyone that's on the Today Show, that something has happened in Town and Country Police Department and those body worn cameras are sitting on a shelf in our basement, and have to try to explain that to our public. It's time that we push forward with this. We believe the lease purchase program, to where we put the $84,000 that we originally budgeted down on the lease purchase program, then there's only a residual $35,000 cost to us next year. This, even though it's a 2-year finance lease, it's 4 or 5 years when it comes to warranty, software updates, extended service plans. So we will be good to go with this body worn cameras, in-car cameras, the integration and a server for the next 5 years. And at the end of it all, we have to have things in place beginning to be implemented by October 1st, per that original grant that all of you agreed to in 2017. So now's the time. We can't wait anymore if for any reason the liability risk.
Thank you, Chief. Open this up for discussion, questions in this area. Commissioner Conrad.
Yeah. Now, the $118,000 over that 2 years, does that also include the server?
Yes, this is all inclusive of the purchase of all the in-car camera replacements for 9 patrol vehicles. It includes the server, and it includes all the integration and hardware that it takes to the IT infrastructure, the remote connectivity, the remote download of the maintenance, the extended service plans, all of that, Jim.
Yeah, now you consider this a real priority, correct?
Oh, there's no other way to consider it. These body worn cameras have to get on our chests yesterday.
And just for someone who's arriving late to the game, this was brought before this commission last fall or in 2017 as part of another initiative.
Correct. They and correct me if I'm wrong, any of you, Susan, Don, Jim, Ron, they began this process back in 2017, Chairman Mortland, to sign on to the Regis grant to receive these. And the departments that are listed in my memo, they are part of that Regis grant as well, and they've already implemented.
Okay. Commissioner Jadis. You're on mute, Commissioner. There you go.
Open now?
Yes.
I have one question. Does the storage cost, is that covered by the grant we received?
No, sir.
It is not.
No, it's not. That's part
Okay.
of that server. It was cheaper for us to purchase our own server and house it here at that cost than it was providing Regis $18,000 a year.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions and discussions? So obviously, I know this is an utmost priority and very timely. I know, Chief, you've worked with City Administrator Bob Shelton, and then Finance Director Pam Reeds on this and figuring out. And so we have it in the budget for the surprise is in next year's budget, correct?
It will be, yes, sir.
Yeah.
The
So we'll just have to-
35,000, the remaining portion of it will be in next year's budget.
So we'll just have to figure how we manage that next year or later this year as we deal with the current status. So any other questions, any other discussions on this? Commissioner Conrad?
No, I just make a motion that we proceed on this, that we make our recommendation that the city get on this as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
I
Is there a
second
All
Second,
right, I have Commissioner Sanders seconding it. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
aye.
All right, any opposed? There it goes unanimous. So thank you, Chief Cavens. Thank you for making this a top priority and not only adhering to the grant, but also making sure that the city from a liability, but the PD is taken care of and our citizens. So
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And one last thing, if I could, Chairman, thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
everybody, for your patience with me with the emails and the Zoom test out so that we all got on board tonight and impressed Chairman Mortland.
So we'll talk about that a little bit in the open agenda too. So thank you. So we're going to move back to item number B, Fire Chief's report. We have Chief Sadler here, and I had the pleasure of meeting with him this week and getting up to date. So Chief, your update?
Good evening, everybody. I apologize for hopping on late. I had a conflict that unfortunately couldn't be avoided. I don't have a ton to talk about other than as Alderman Mortland or Chairman Mortland mentioned, His Honor mentioned. We did have the opportunity to meet, and he actually attended our board meeting Monday night, which was not nearly as seamless as this one has been so far, electronically. But we did have the opportunity to meet and just kind of get to know each other a little bit and get a little bit of an understanding about the process of the task force. I will, we're looking forward to obviously discussing things further and involving some of the people on this call as well. The other, I guess, kind of pertinent thing, we haven't really had an opportunity to catch up in large part since the beginning of the year and the pandemic hitting. It's been an interesting year. I'm glad to see everybody, knock on wood, at least appears to be healthy. So that's the primary concern. I will tell you, we have yet, and I don't have any wood to knock on, but I will tell you that thus far we have been very fortunate, and probably it relates more to being proactive with our PPE, but we've been very fortunate with exposures or lack thereof. Interestingly, and I think Chief Cavens has probably related this to some degree, we have had a significant downturn in call volume, just in public safety in general, but our call volume in Town and Country is down significantly, and really across the area and across the region. And people have kind of been really doing a good job of kind of battening down the hatches and just calling when they really, really need the service. So we can get into some of the data as time goes on and things sort of develop. I didn't want to take a ton of time because I know the focus of this call was really to get a couple things on the law enforcement side done. And I'm happy to answer any questions. But honestly, so far so good. And I think we're focusing, Chairman Mortland and myself and the task force will be focusing on seeing which direction this heads towards the fall.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Anybody have any questions or discussion for Chief Sadler? Okay. All right, we're moving on to the Fire Marshal Dave Phipps report, municipal code update.
Just a quick update. The code sets now in a circuit office waiting for public comment. The first opportunity for it to go before the board will be August 24th. And then it will work its way through the board. We hope to have it on board by the first of the year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions for Fire Marshal Phipps? No, seeing them. Okay. As Chief Sadler mentioned, I didn't mention in the Board of Aldermen update is we have a fire contract task force that we were going through. And we had our first meeting, I believe it was last week, and then we have another meeting. We're just going through the renewal of the West County EMS and obviously looking at options, but looking at the long-term solutions there too. So your input will be sought as we go through that process. And Commissioner Sanders is on that task force with me. So with regards to open agenda, I had one item is just really with regards to future commission meetings at Public Works. We created the agenda. I'm going to be working with Chief Cavens, Chief Sadler, and Fire Marshal Phipps on content and working on that. But having a monthly spot to, if there is something of urgency, instead of having to call an urgency meeting like we did here, that we could have, that if they have anything that we need to report to this commission, that you would be available, and we don't have to, we can run a very efficient meeting, so hopefully it won't take too much of your time. We appreciate your volunteering and care about the city. But it seems like there hasn't been one since January, and I wanted to get something a little more frequent cadence. So whether it's monthly or every other month, Chief and Fire Marshal Phipps and Chief Sadler, is there anything that would be monthly or every other month would work? What would you rather like there? Chief's trying to unmute himself, I think.
Thanks, sir. I'm flexible. They'll be for at least me, Chairman. This last quarter of this year, there may be a lot of things for me to not necessarily get a recommendation for, but to inform the commission of. So I can always get with you. Some of it could be every other month, but I don't want to. The things that I don't need recommendations on to go to the BOA, we can discuss, and however you want me to handle it.
Okay. Well, in the other commission, if there's not enough agenda items, we can move that item to, and cancel that month's meeting, but it's scheduled. And I believe in structure and communication. If we have that structure and communication in place, then it's already there, and then it makes it a lot easier on scheduling with all the commissioners' times and everything else. Was there I'm just asking because I know Chief Cavens, you're new. Was there a frequent time, like a set time that you had, like we had the first Monday of every month, or was it just on call?
It was the second Tuesday of every other month. Correct, everyone? Second Tuesday.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
it was at 7:30. It was at 7 or 7:30.
Does that still work for everyone?
Yes.
Again. Okay.
Yeah.
Some of these meetings are going earlier, if that helps you from a home life, just because we're all in a different spot in the new normal. I'm open at usually 4:30 or 7:30. If there's a preference to go one way or to have a different time, you can email me. But we will get that back on the calendar, and we will be scheduling those. I'd like to have another one in August with regards to the fire update in case of anything there, and just kind of get some frequency going. Is that okay?
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other open agenda or open questions? I'm going to be learning a lot. So yeah, I'm going to be reaching out to each one of you commissioners and introducing myself in a little more detail. But from that standpoint, is there any other open agenda items that you'd like to talk about? Yes, Chief.
Thank you, Chairman. Depending upon when our meeting is in August, so we don't miss it, we have a retirement coming up August 15th of Officer Paul Wilson. Officer Wilson has served this community proudly for 33 years. He's going to retire effective August 15th and move on to the life of relaxation. We are currently, if you haven't seen the Facebook page. We are recruiting and marketing heavily for qualified candidates. We're accepting applications for this test process up until the close of business, August 3rd. We will begin the written test on August 6th. And then those who are eligible after the written test will begin the interviews to begin the process of replacing Officer Wilson sometime probably around September 16th. So we'd appreciate all of you being our ambassadors and really getting out there and looking for qualified candidates for us.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any other open agenda items? Commissioner Conrad.
Please call me Jim.
Jim. Yes.
Yeah, Chief Sadler, you have your new 100-foot aerial in yet?
No, sir. It's probably going to be about a year from now. We just ordered it. I'd have to go back. It's probably been a month or so, but they're a year out. We're getting ready to take delivery of our heavy rescue that'll, I think in about, knock on wood again, 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks.
So where will that be housed?
Tentatively, it has been housed at our Station 1 next to Coles.
Question, Susan?
Chief Cavins, how is the, this is in regards to the, like, be aware that people sign up for the community. How is it determined what gets put on be aware and what doesn't?
You know what? That's a great question. We've been trying to, I don't know if spread the wealth is the accurate statement, Susan. But we now have on the website, we have an alert banner. For instance, like the other day on Clayton Road, right. We had the lane restrictions because of all the utility pole issues and construction and everything like that. We put that out on the banner and we put that on the website and we put that on our Facebook page. We're trying to save, be aware, because it goes to people's phones and text messages and emails. We're trying to save that for more urgent emergency type situations so that our citizens do not get desensitized that, oh, it's another be aware from Town and Country. We're trying our best to, and we don't want to overwhelm them because this week has been something else with the construction on Clayton Road, the water main breaks, and there was something else and I can't remember what. So we're trying to make sure that we don't overwhelm our citizens one way or the other, but we try to use the be aware for crime related events, safety events, and urgency type situations.
Well, like when the incident happened at Manchester and Mason with the car bumping into each other and then they steal the car and the person ran in the woods, that didn't come across the be aware, but I did see it on your Facebook page like 2 weeks later.
It did, Susan. You're exactly right, and I will fall on our sword. We missed a golden opportunity with that. The officers that were working absolutely did their due diligence and vigilantly went out there. We did a neighborhood canvas of all the different areas. We contacted residents. We contacted Raintree School, but we failed. We failed you guys. We failed the citizens. That we didn't follow up with a be aware that this was what was going on, and this is what the outcome was.
I just didn't even know if that was a use for it. I wasn't exactly sure.
Yes.
If all crime
Yes.
things are on there. Okay.
Yes, that we missed it. We missed it. We talked about it Monday morning at a Monday morning command staff meeting. And everybody is aware that we missed it, and we'll be better next time.
And who puts it on there? Is there like a media manager, or how does that come?
Yes, it's on the Be Aware. It's Lori Hangy, Ashley McNamara, Morgan, or Lieutenant Wilkie.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you for the question.
Any other questions or open agenda items? If not, I'd like to say one, thank you for just working through the first meeting with me, and also you're volunteering for and being a part of this commission. So can I have a motion to adjourn? I got one from Commissioner Willman and second by Commissioner Gordon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Well, thank you all for your time tonight, and thank you for giving Chief Cavens and Sadler and Fire Marshal Phipps time to kind of get their work through. So, Chief, thanks a lot for getting that AC all set up too.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Everyone, have a
Thanks.
good night. Thank you.
Brian?
Thank you. Bye.